Hey everyone, I wanted to make a full video, not just a short, to kind of talk about, my life, what got me here, what it's been like leading up to it, why I'm on this journey. Hopefully it's, an inspiration in some capacity to some people or people relate to it. So at least they don't have to feel, as alone, or if you're kind of further along on your sobriety journey or even just your journey to be the best version of yourself, that it'll encourage you to continue along that journey, because I think it's best if we're all our best versions. I think people deserve to be happy. They deserve to feel fulfilled, but that can be hard. So a little bit about me. I grew up in a pretty normal, middle class house. My parents are still married. I had a relatively, I don't know, life's never normal, but, normal upbringing. Grew up playing sports, things like that. The one thing that was a little different, but lots of people do this, but I grew up skateboarding was a really big part of my life. And I think that led to a few things, but I would hang out with, kids a lot older than me, which isn't necessarily always great because I was exposed to some things that I don't think very young kids should be exposed to. Like, as an example, some of my friends smoked cigarettes at age 10. You know what I mean? That's not the ideal scenario, but it is what it is, and skateboarding was a lot of fun. I'm thinking about picking it back up. I always periodically pick it back up as I get older. Falling is just a lot worse when you get older. But yeah, also another thing about my childhood that always kind of felt strange. I don't know if other people felt this way, but when I was a kid, I played outside with my friends, pretty much every day. And you would just knock on their door and say, can so-and-so come out and play? And for whatever reason, ever since I was a little kid, again, we would all play outside pretty much every day. When I would knock on the door, I was always scared they didn't want to come outside. They always wanted to. There was zero evidence that would demonstrate that they don't want to be my friend, but for whatever reason, I always felt like they didn't. And so I think that was one of the first instances I can go back on that's maybe you're not thinking the right way, right? And so anyways, fast forward a little bit. I guess nothing else is that crazy, but I was always a pretty emotional kid. As an example, when I got to middle school, I played soccer, always select soccer and stuff. I got kicked off 2 teams for fighting when I was 13. And it just was a weird, you can hear my voice now, but I had a really high voice when I was 13. And so people would make fun of it. And so I would just attack them. I just couldn't really handle my emotions. I couldn't handle criticism very well. I just always had this thing that people don't like me. People are underestimating me. And it was just, it's the wrong mindset, but I couldn't do anything about it because that was how I thought. Anyways, when high school started, I was super against drinking, drug use, things like that. I was kind of scared of it, honestly, but I got a girlfriend my freshman year of high school who drank. She eventually convinced me to do so with her. I did it and I was like, oh, this is why people like it. And a lot of the feelings that I had of you don't like me, what are you thinking about me? My life's terrible, I'd rather be you than me. They all just kind of went away, and I felt kind of numb to that, and I got to feel the happier version of myself. And so, pretty quick, that's why anybody, I think, drinks or uses drugs, right, is to kind of escape the reality of their mind. But I could tell pretty quickly that I liked it more than other people. When I turned 17, I think that's whenever I really actually developed a legitimate, noticeable problem. I got a fake ID. So I had to buy alcohol for tons of people, obviously, in high school. And then that's whenever I started drinking, by myself some weeknights. And when, I was that young, I could get blackout drunk, and the next day I could wake up and run 5 miles. I felt fine, like completely normal. So it wasn't a big deal in my mind, but I know it was. And at 17, that's whenever I started drinking to black out. Like, not to black out, but every single time I drank, I blacked out or drank until I fell asleep. And I wouldn't even drink. Like, if somebody was like, oh, you want to split a 12 pack? I wouldn't drink 6 beers. It wasn't worth it to me. I needed more. I wouldn't drink unless I knew for a fact that there was enough. And so that, I think, is what dictated, like, this is an issue for you. And I remember I was at one of my friend's houses. His parents would let us drink, and his dad seemed to have a pretty bad drinking problem, and he came up to me and he was like, you like this more than them, huh? And I was like, what's he talking about? But in hindsight, he was saying, like, I notice how you drink, I relate to it, this is a problem. So anyways, fast forward a little bit more. I went off to college. Eventually I met a girl, and I got her pregnant really fast. I was 21 at the time. Yeah, 21. And yeah, it was a really bad time in my life. I moved back to where I live now. And basically, like, she was pregnant and she was taking care of me. I lived in an apartment with my friend. Like, the first time we went to meet the doctor that was going to deliver, our son, I was super drunk. Like, she came over and I was supposed to take her to the doctor. It was supposed to be like this nice thing. And then I was like, you got to drive. You know what I mean? So it went really poorly, obviously. And it was just a lot of that. Fast forward a little more. I was there for my son's birth. I was sober. I had not drank for a little while because I wasn't about to miss my son's birth. So I was able to abstain from alcohol for 3 weeks or so, as we got closer to the due date. After we left the hospital, I hadn't drank in so long, I just went off drinking, right? So, like, I dropped her off at her place with our son, and then I went completely rogue for days. Eventually, she found me, and I was just passed out on my apartment floor, and she was bringing our brand newborn baby in. So she, broke up with me because she had already known, like, this probably isn't going to work, like, if he's going to drink like that. But she had hoped that, after my son was born, I would stop. I didn't, sadly. So anyways, it was just a lot more of that, a lot more of drinking, navigating through life. I was able to finish college, and then I got sober for a period of time. I was able to stay sober for about 18 months, and that was a really good time of my life. Everything was going well, and after I finished college and then I finished grad school in that 18 months, I got my first job in what I do now in the recruiting space. I'm a salesperson in the recruiting space. I placed, at that time, accounting professionals. And yeah, I was able to do really well. After that 18 months, I had closed a couple of big deals, and they threw at work a surprise party for me. And this one guy, he just slid me a beer. And I was like, maybe now that I'm like an adult and I'm making actual money, because I was so broke for so long when I was in college. I was like, maybe now I kind of have it together. I feel a lot more fulfilled, like I'm spending great time with my son, like he gets to sleep over again, everything's good. There's no way that I would go back to that path of destruction. So I drank that beer. And then I was like, oh, I remember this feeling. And then I went to like the office fridge, and I just chugged 3 beers as fast as I could. And I did only drink 4 beers that day, but I didn't drink in so long. Went home. The next day, I went off to college in that period of time when I was in college, and one of my roommates was like, "Oh, I'm coming to St. Louis for a work training. Like, we should get dinner." So we did, and at dinner, I ordered a beer, and then that was whenever, after I ordered 2 beers maybe, and then when I went home, on the way home, I stopped at the gas station. I bought a fifth. I got, blackout drunk that night, was super sick the next day because I hadn't drank in so long, and I was trying to drink like I used to. So anyways, I cleaned my act up pretty quickly after that, because I didn't want to lose the job. I had a lot of people that were like, "Come on, like, think about how good your life was sober. Like, you're already drinking like this again." So I did. I cleaned it up. I stayed sober for a year after that. In that year, I was pretty new in my job, but I was able to, I won runner-up for Rookie of the Year in my company. It was a national company. I got to go to a conference in Chicago, speak in front of, hundreds of people. And then they set up like a booth, and new reps could come talk to me about like what's allowed me to be successful. It was a really big deal for me. I was really proud of myself, and it was a good period of time in my life. So again, I stayed sober for a year, was doing well at work, and then kind of fell off the deep end for whatever reason. There wasn't really anything that perpetuated it. I don't know. I can't really ever figure out what causes me to drink, because it's never like one bad thing happens, right? So I drank. I lost that job eventually. And then it's kind of since then, that was 6 years ago, it's been just kind of a spiral of getting good jobs, losing them, drinking for 2 weeks. Maybe sometimes I don't drink for a couple of months. I've taken like antabuse, things like that. I've gone to therapy a ton, been in and out of like AA meetings, things like that. And it's just been hard for me. But the reason I made this channel is this past year, 2025 in general, I would say has been the worst year I've ever had drinking wise, because like I'll drink like now. I've always been a binge drinker, but now my binges are 10 days to 15 days, and being blacked out for 15 days, like, it's blowing my mind. We're almost to mid-July, because I don't remember June. Like, I don't remember May, really. I mean, that's a little dramatic, but most of the time I'm blackout drunk now. And so that's not okay. Obviously, I can't, like, live and sustain a life. And I've been really lucky. I know I've talked about my boss before I started working with him a little bit over 3 years ago. And he hired me because he actually placed me as a recruiter himself. I knew him from the recruiting space. I got fired from that job within a week. And then I was ignoring him because I was like still drunk a week later. And then he just texted me. He was like, "Hey man, look, like, we know a lot of the same people. I don't care about that I placed you and you got fired. I don't care about any of that. Like, just please let me know you're okay." And so I called him. I was like, "Look, this is what it is. I have a drinking problem. It's been really bad. I got fired because I was drunk there at the job." And he was like, "I'll tell you what, do you want to work for me? I need a salesperson. I'll give you a shot. I know what, drinking problems look like. I have friends that have been sober." So since then I came and worked for him, and I did well, really well in bouts. But again, like, if you're being blacked out for 10 days straight, it's hard to maintain or build anything, especially in an industry where things are like really relationship based, because you develop that relationship, then you ignore them for over a week. And so it was a lot of like in and out of the company. And then in different periods of time, I'd go and I'd get a new job, and I'd get fired from that job because, big corporate companies aren't like, "Oh, it's cool that you didn't talk to me for 2 weeks." So eventually, I found myself back at the company I'm with now. And things were going good for a little while. I stayed sober for about 9 months. Sober, I smoked weed, but like I was able to at least like maintain my mental capacity to do well there. And so But yeah, it's just kind of been like inexcusable throughout this year. Like I've been drunk way more than I've been sober. It's taken, or a toll on my relationship with people that I work with as far as like my clients, but also, it's been really sad to see a lot of the people I literally work with, like my coworkers, it's impacted them, like how they reach out about how they're scared or they're sad, and just letting people down has been hard. It's taken a toll on like my friendships. I got kicked out of a couple bands over the years, and my band that I'm in now, they brought me back only for me to mess up again, and then for them to be like, "Do please." And so, I want to get it together. I know that I'm capable of living a good life. I know that anybody is, right? If you do the right things, typically good things happen. It's not always the case. Sometimes bad things still happen, like life is hard. But it's just been really tough for me, like when I look back and I think about where my life could have been. And I know that's the wrong mindset, but yeah, it's a lot of times what I focus on. And I know that there's like a root of my problem, right? Because at 17, I didn't feel so bad about how I had been living the past years because I was just a kid, right? And I had everything in front of me. Now I'm 34. And so, a lot of times I make the excuse in my mind, like all of these things that have happened is why I'm drinking. But that's not really true, because I drank like that before. It might be worse now because I feel worse about what's happened, but I always drank like that. And so, the goal of this channel and the goal of this journey is for me to figure out exactly what makes me feel good and fulfilled. I've always, wanted to help people and inspire people, and I hope this channel does that. And I hope, I get to see the progression. I even watched back already. It's been 6 days that I've been sober. Like my first video, when I made it and I was like drunk still and sad, and I just look at my face and it's swollen and I can't really talk right. And it's just like, wow, like I'm willing to be like that, for what? Like to feel numb for a little, so maybe like I enjoy a song a little bit more or something. But yeah, it's just hard. And so, the starting point of this video is I'm on a work hiatus, running low on money. I've lost a lot of time with my son, sadly, and I feel bad overall. But I do feel hopeful, and I do still have good things, and I do luckily still have a lot of people in my life. And so I want to see, how far I can make it on this journey. I want to, more than anything, more than any material thing, beyond I want the time back with my son. Like that's the material thing that matters. But the rest of it, I just want to be able to feel like comfortable living life, like sitting in silence. I just don't want to feel panicky all the time. And so that's the goal really, is to find out, who I am, why I have been this way before, why I always had this inherent feeling of being worse than other people. Because I've always had a lot of potential. I've always been pretty good at the stuff I do. And I have a lot of skills and things like that. And I want to be able to use them to help people. So if you made it all the way through this video, I really appreciate it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with other people so they can relate. I just want this to be like a community where people can be encouraging to each other, and they can, help other people as well. I read all the comments. Everyone's been super nice and supportive, and it means a lot. It keeps me going sometimes, and I'll go back to comments that are like really kind and encouraging, and I'll read them. But I am confident that I can and other people can improve and they can become the best versions of themselves. I do have hope, which is good because it's hard, and especially at the beginning. Like, I want to drink every day. For sure, I think about it sometimes, and I'll talk to people about it. And I encourage other people to talk to people about it. Drinking isn't the answer. It's never, ever in my whole life helped me. So, I just wanted to make this video to kind of explain a little bit more about my backstory. More will come out. I want to make more videos, more shorts, just talking about myself, the things I like. As I get sober, I'll be able to further explore those things as well. I'm lucky enough to still be involved with a couple of bands musically. That's a huge passion of mine. It always has been. And it's funny, my son, he's almost 12. He doesn't really care for or like music that much. And it's funny, I actually think it's a good thing because when I was a young kid, I loved music, and I really related to the emotions in it. I needed an outlet, and I think it's good. It doesn't seem like he needs that outlet like I did. I think that's healthy. Not that music's bad, obviously, but yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. I encourage you to try and improve, and follow this journey along if you want to. I hope that you do. Again, leave a comment. Appreciate everyone. Thanks.